Snow fell softly over the small town of Pinebrook, blanketing the rooftops in white and quieting the world beneath it. The streets were lined with twinkling lights, Christmas trees glowing behind warm windows and laughter spilling from homes. But on the edge of town, a little boy named Ethan trudged through the snow, shivering beneath a thin jacket. In one hand, he carried a small brown paper bag. In the other, a list of names written in shaky handwriting. It was Christmas Eve, and Ethan was knocking on doors, not for gifts, but for something far simpler. Before we begin, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and tell me in the comments, where are you watching from tonight? I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now let's go back to that cold winter night, when one boy's hope brought warmth to a heart that had forgotten how to feel. The first house he tried was bright and beautiful, Christmas lights twinkling, laughter echoing inside. He knocked, holding his bag close. A woman opened the door, smiling until she saw the boy's torn gloves and red cheeks. "Can I help you, dear?" He smiled shyly. "Hi, ma'am. I'm looking for work. I can shovel snow or carry firewood. I just need to earn a few dollars." Her smile faded. "Oh, sweetheart, it's Christmas Eve. You should be home with your family." He looked down. "I don't really have one anymore." Her face softened, but before she could say another word, her husband called from inside. "Who's there, honey?" She said, "Just a boy. He'll be fine." The door closed. Ethan stood there for a moment, then turned and walked back into the falling snow. House after house he tried again. At one, a man said, "Sorry, kid, not tonight." At another, someone dropped $1 in his bag and shut the door before he could say thank you. By the fifth house, his hands were numb, his breath short. He whispered to himself, "Just one more door." But deep down, he wasn't sure what he was really hoping for anymore. Money? Kindness? Or maybe just someone to look at him and see him. Finally, near the edge of town, he came to an old brick house with peeling paint and no lights on. It didn't look like anyone lived there, but he knocked anyway. Nothing. He waited, then turned to leave, when suddenly the door creaked open. An old man stood there, gruff, unshaven, wearing a faded flannel shirt. His voice was rough. "What do you want, kid? It's freezing out there." He swallowed hard. "Sir, I was wondering if you needed help with anything. I can shovel snow or carry firewood. I just need to earn a few dollars." His frown faded. "What's in the bag?" He looked down. "Just my mom's cookies. She used to sell them. I thought maybe someone might buy a few." The old man sighed. "Cookies, huh?" Ethan nodded, his lip trembling. "She made them every Christmas. But she passed away last year. I thought maybe I could sell a few and get enough to buy her favorite flowers for her grave." The old man's expression changed. His voice softened. "You came all this way for that?" Ethan nodded. The man stepped aside. "Well, don't just stand there. Come in before you freeze." Ethan hesitated. "I'm okay, sir. I don't want to bother you." "Kid," the man said firmly, "if you stay out there any longer, you'll turn into a popsicle. Get in here." Inside, the house was dim, quiet, and cold. The fireplace hadn't been lit in years. A dusty photo sat on the mantel, a young woman holding a baby, smiling. The man noticed Ethan looking. "That's my daughter," he said quietly. Haven't seen her in a long time. Ethan set his bag down and opened it. The smell of cinnamon and sugar filled the air. I can give you a few cookies, sir. You don't have to buy them. The old man smiled faintly, for the first time in years. How much? Ethan shook his head. They're free. The old man laughed softly. Smart businessman, huh? Ethan smiled. They're not for business, they're for remembering. Something in those words hit him hard. He sat down across from Ethan, staring at his small, frostbitten hands. You remind me of someone, he said quietly. Your daughter? The man nodded. Yeah. She used to bake cookies with me every Christmas Eve. But I lost her too. They sat in silence for a while, just listening to the wind outside. Then slowly the man stood up. Come with me, he said. He took Ethan out back to his old greenhouse, dusty, forgotten, filled with the faint smell of soil. He turned on a small heater and began pulling pots off a shelf. These were my daughter's flowers, he said. She loved growing them. Maybe it's time they bloomed again. He handed Ethan a small pot with a single budding plant. This was her favorite, white lilies. Ethan's eyes widened. Those were my mom's favorite too. The man smiled gently. Then I guess they've found their way home. That night they shared cookies by the fire, the old man's first fire in years. He gave Ethan a blanket and a place to sleep on the couch. In the morning, they went together to the cemetery, carrying a small bouquet of lilies from the greenhouse. Ethan placed them beside his mother's grave, whispering, "Merry Christmas, Mom." The man stood beside him, his eyes misty. "Thank you, kid," he said softly. "You helped me remember what Christmas is really about." Months later, the two were inseparable. The old man, whose name was Harold, became like a grandfather to Ethan. He taught him how to fix things, grow flowers, and build birdhouses in the spring. And every Christmas Eve, they baked cookies together, the same recipe Ethan's mom used to make. They sold them to neighbors, and the money went to families who had fallen on hard times. The little brown bag now carried more than cookies. It carried hope. The next year, Pine Brook had a new Christmas tradition. Every house received a small bag on Christmas Eve with a note that read, "Kindness is the only gift that never runs out," by Ethan and Harold. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and tell me in the comments, where are you watching from tonight? I love seeing how far these stories travel. Because sometimes the doors we knock on aren't just for help, they're for healing. And when one finally opens, it changes two lives forever.